The debt crisis, as you know, continuing. Today, Greece lost its last investment-grade rating when Fitch downgraded the country's bonds to junk status. And yesterday, ratings agency Moody's warned the U.S., U.K., France, and Germany to get entitlement spending under control or risk a drop in their own ratings. So what are the U.S. and the EU doing together to really control their fiscal crisis? Well, joining us to talk about that is João Vale de Almeida. He joins us here. He's the European Union's ambassador to the United States. And forgive me if I mangled your name, Mr. Ambassador.
No problem.
Forgive me. We do want to talk a lot about what's going on in Europe right now and the sovereign debt situation, but we've got this big deal between BP and Rosneft. I know it caught you by surprise. It caught all of us by surprise. What does it tell you, though, about the significance of kind of a link-up between BP and Russia's largest oil state-owned oil company?
I know as much as you know about the deal, so I cannot possibly comment on it. But it clearly illustrates the degree of interdependence, the degree of interconnection between Western Europe and Russia in terms of energy. We know they have the resources, the markets are on our side. Our companies have some experience of Russia, and BP is one of them by far. So I'm sure BP knows what they're doing in this deal. But I think this highlights the importance and the interconnection of our economies in the European continent between Western Europe and Russia. And energy plays a great deal in this relationship.
You know, the European experience with Russia as far as energy goes hasn't always been a pleasant experience. They control a lot of the flow of natural gas to the eastern EU countries. We have seen, though, Russia's emergence really as well, I mean, obviously they were already a strong industrial power, but they're making their presence felt in an even stronger way now around the globe, but in the EU especially. What can you say about the growth of Russia, the emergence of Russia as really a big player, and they want to be taken seriously?
I think the evolution of Russia towards becoming a market economy is a welcome one. I mean, we welcome that. We want Russia to be part of the global economy, to be a partner, to play by the rules, the rule of law, the protection of investment and all that. That's been our dialogue with the Russians. Interconnection between our economies in a globalized economy is normal, provided that everyone applies the rules and respects the rules.
That's a good point. Does a deal like this between BP and Rosneft, Mr. Ambassador, say to you that they are increasingly playing by the rules? They've got to. Again,
I don't know anything about the deal. I noticed the presence of the two ministers in charge of energy of both Britain and Russia. I noticed that the CEO of BP has a large experience of the Russian market, so I trust that everybody knows what they're doing. If this translates into bringing Russia further into the market economy, into the rules of our system of a globalized economy, I think this is good news. But again, I cannot comment on the deal. So.
No, and I'm not asking you to, but by seeing a deal like this between BP and Rosneft, does it say to you that indeed they are taking steps, they understand they've got to play by the rules? Is it a step forward on that front?
I hope so. What I realize is that our economies are interdependent because we are neighbors, because they have things we don't have, we have a market they don't have, we have investment and technology they don't have. You know, maybe there is a deal on the making for the future in terms of integration of the two economies. About this particular deal, I'm sorry, I don't have enough elements to comment on.
Does it give you pause, though? I mean, does it give you pause to see Russia taking a bigger presence in Europe? I mean, the Russians don't always play by the rules. It's not unusual to see a journalist poisoned or killed. They take over Yukos simply by saying that they have $20 billion in back taxes. It's a risky prospect, isn't it?
Well, I see BP also taking a stake on the other side. So it's important also that we European or American or Western presence in Russian economy is also a good thing in terms of the interconnection of the economies. But again, I don't want to comment on the deal as such, and certainly not taking political conclusions or draw political conclusions from this deal.
And we talked a lot about this deal, but I want to talk to you about the European sovereign debt situation. We here in the United States every day try to figure out how bad it really is. And some days it feels really bad, some days not so much. Where are we in this process of working it out?
Let me say Europe is doing its homework. We are addressing emergency situations like Greece or Ireland. We are prepared for other emergency situations if they appear. We have the mechanisms to do that. We are transforming the temporary mechanisms, crisis mechanisms, into permanent ones after 2013. And most of all, we are operating a small revolution in the way we organize and cooperate in terms of economic policy, fiscal policy, budgetary policy. Is it going to be
fast enough, though, to prevent any kind of crisis situation?
We believe we will be fast enough, we'll be effective enough, we'll be able to safeguard the euro as a cornerstone of our political project, and we will convince the markets that Europe is on the right track.
I have to say, Mr. Ambassador, almost every single investor and analyst that we have on this program, whether he thinks the problem in Europe is a huge problem or whether he thinks the problem in Europe can be dealt with, says that eventually there will have to be a rescheduling of debt. There will have to be a haircut for the bondholders. Do you think that that's inevitable? And if so, why not bring it forward?
I don't think that is inevitable. In fact, I think that is not the way that will happen. We believe we have the means and the mechanisms to deal with the situation. Our governments have shown courageous determination to deal with these issues, and the markets will begin to understand that Europe is serious about dealing with this situation. Fiscal consolidation, creation of conditions for sustainable growth in the future, increasing the competitiveness of our economy. This is what we're talking about.
Just got 10 seconds. Are you getting a lot of pressure from the U.S.? You're here in the U.S. from U.S. officials and other developed countries to work this out?
There's a certain degree of skepticism in the public opinion here, but the political people I talk to in government in Washington, I believe they believe that we can make it. We are cooperating well with the United States in addressing other issues at the international level, you know, the management of the crisis. I think there are reasons to believe that Europe can come out of this crisis stronger and fitter, and this is good also for the United States.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you so much, and you're very gracious in talking to us about the deal, the big news that we had to kind of shift gears for, but also then talking to us about this. Thank you so much. Have a good trip home.